Welcome back to In Depth with Academia. I'm Richard Price, CEO of academia.edu, and today I'm diving into a really fascinating book that's a bit different from your typical academic paper. It's CONSTELAЩIA ZR authored collectively by Constantin Zărnescu, Nicolae Zărnescu, Nicolae Zărnescu, and Alan Gabriel Zărnescu, with the text Selection and Editing by Nicolae Zărnescu. Whew, that's quite a constellation right there. Pun absolutely intended. But for today's episode, I'll be focusing especially on the contributions and perspectives of Nicolae Zărnescu, just to keep things manageable. So, what's at the heart of this constellation? The core question addressed in this collective work is, well, what does it mean for a lineage, a family, even a village, to contribute to Romanian cultural heritage through literature, science, public service, and more? And how can the stories, achievements, and honestly quirks of one extended family, here the Zărnestilor clan, mirror broader questions about identity, creativity, and community roots? Now, you might be thinking, why is this significant? Why bother with the history and output of a single, albeit impressively productive family? Well, at its core, CONSTELAЩIA ZR isn't just a compendium of genealogy and resumes. It's a meditation on the ways that individual lives and family ties ripple outward into culture, education, public service, science, and honestly, sometimes just a good laugh. In a time when we're all asking big questions about roots and belonging, the Zărnești family offers an experiment. Can you map a constellation of impact across generations and fields, not just through isolated achievement, but through a web of relationships, mentorship, and local engagement? So let's get into some key findings and arguments, neutral as always. I'm just presenting, not endorsing. One of the strongest threads in the book is the sheer diversity of the Zărnești family's pursuits. You have Constantin Zărnescu, whose literary work spans novels, poetry, and dramatic plays, some of which, like Regina Iacasta, have graced big stages in Romania and France. Then Nicolae Zărnescu, honestly a true jack of all trades, who has been an engineer, poet, linguist, designer, photographer. Oh, and I can't forget, author of Windows 10, Guide Practic, which is, get this, the only book about Windows 10 in Romania recognized by Microsoft. Bet you didn't expect to jump from poetry to operating system guides. There's Nicolae Zărnescu, whose career ran through criminalistics and counter-espionage, later channeling those experiences into memoirs like Bonjour, Monsieur Marcouf, fascinating snapshots of Romania's complex Cold War interactions. Alan Gabriel Zărnescu, meanwhile, brings a healthy dose of athleticism to the picture. He's a fitness instructor, champion bodybuilder, and author of health and diet books. It's a bit dizzying, honestly. So what ties them together aside from their surname? The authors argue, sometimes explicitly, sometimes just through example, that what binds this constellation is not sameness, but a commitment to giving back, to cultivating talent locally, to bridging science and the arts, and to building the idea that, hey, your last name, your village of origin, those quirky relatives, maybe they're not constraints, but a source of inspiration. It's not about exceptional geniuses, but about persistent engagement across generations. The teacher who launches students, the mayor who brings electricity to the village, the sibling who becomes a craftsman or a sports star, even the family member who, well, writes epigrams about their own boldness methodologically. This paper, if you can call a 60-book family compendium just a paper, takes a broad approach: biography, poetry, literary criticism, practical guides, and, yes, genealogy. There's even an actual family tree mapped out, tracing roots back to the mid-1800s, and tons of, did you know, trivia, like there are only 30 people worldwide named Constantin Zărnescu. I mean, what are the odds? But if I can digress for just a second, sometimes reading about such prolific families makes me wonder if I'm doing enough with my own time. Then again, I can barely keep my houseplants alive, so maybe we each have our microcosm. Anyway, back to the Zărnești family. So, what does all this mean for you, the listener? Why pay attention to CONSTELAЩIA ZR? I think, strictly on a neutral note, one big insight is that heritage and impact are more layered than we often admit. It's easy to view genealogy as some dry list, but here it becomes inspiration, a reminder that any of us might create ripple effects through teaching, volunteering, or just supporting family and neighbours. and it's also a gentle nudge that the boundaries between literature, science, public service, and daily life are more porous than textbooks would have us believe. I want to be absolutely clear. As with all academic work, CONSTELAЩIA ZRNETTILOR doesn't offer any final answers or universal truths. It's a perspective, a springboard for thought, and a very Romanian, maybe even very universal invitation to rethink who gets to be seen as shaping culture and why. It's up to you, the reader or listener, to decide which pieces resonate or, which family jokes are actually funny. That's all for today's episode of In Depth with Academia. Thanks for joining me, Richard Price, as we explored the constellation of Zrnești. Don't forget, scholarly work is a conversation, not a verdict. Maybe check out the Zrnești family's work, or heck, ask your own relatives what hidden talents or stories they have. Who knows? You might find there's a whole universe twinkling in your own family. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and never settle for easy answers. See you on the next episode.